welcome to Shifting Religious Concepts. We are SRC, and we're pleased to be here with you today for a novel look at the Bible and what it means for all of us. My name is Mark Thomas. I'll be moderating today's program. Along with our SRC panel, we will continue with our series titled Revelation Revealed. During the show, remember that we encourage you to ask questions and or make comments by raising your hand in the Zoom feature, and we'll do our best to answer those questions as we go. Our panel, as always, are Anala D, Archie Sanders, and K.R. Griffo. Good to see everybody this morning. If you've attended our broadcast or watched our YouTube videos, you know that these three all have their own unique perspective on the Bible. Listen closely as they explain how our physical and mental energy or chakra relate to the astrological bodies of the cosmos, and then go on to demonstrate how the ancients masters knew this as well. Please remember that a few days after our presentation, we post the video on YouTube's. It's a great way to absorb all this information at your own pace. Just search for Shifting Religious Concepts. Please like us and subscribe. So quickly, before we get started on this 8th episode of the Revelation, I want to remind the audience of SRC's mission. We like to do this just a little bit before every show. In our newsletter, we tell the reader that, quote, the ancient masters, this is a quote from the newsletter, the ancient masters provided a footprint to teach human beings the art of complete self-mastery that would ultimately lead them to become the perfect being. Ancient masters understood that one who conquers themselves is more significant than one who conquers a nation. Now, in this quote, the word become in this quote is the key here. SRC knows that the universe is always in flux and changing. It is becoming, just as everything in it is becoming. SRC says that when we are conscious of ourselves, of the God who is us, then we become what we desire. These chapters from Revelation that our panel have been illuminating are a map that the ancients gave us. Every map has a key that tells you what different things on it mean. This key to the Bible is what SRC wants to share with you. Okay, so now we're going to move to Anala, where she's going to present some takeaways and I think a definition or two, right, Anala?
Morning, absolutely. I will share my screen and we will introduce again to some of you guys may have already seen the takeaways, but for those of you who are new to the show today, we will share the screen and talk about what our takeaways are for today and also share a definition with you. Our takeaways today, where and how Revelation came about. We've already talked about that. The role of Paul, we talked about the role that Paul has played in our in Revelation. The real purpose of the book called Revelation. What is it all about? Your body and the book of Revelation, how they all play a part in our lives today. What and who is the light of the world? Every time we talk and every time we unpack parts of Revelation, we are talking about that. What is the significance of Revelation in your everyday life? Every time we are unpacking a segment of Revelation, we are talking about the significance of Revelation in your everyday life. We're going to talk more about that again today. Now, last week, we went over some of these definitions already. And so today I'm going to share another definition that you guys are going to hear. Now, one of the things I learned, I thought about this morning. I said, you know, some words you just have a difficult time pronouncing. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that you have a challenge in pronouncing some of these words because they're all new. So a feature that I found on my phone, and you guys can do the same thing. It doesn't mean that you don't know stuff. Just need to know how to pronounce something. So this word here, listen to the pronunciation.
Parthenogenesis.
Parthenogenesis. And what it means is reproduction from an ovum without fertilization. This is a word that you're going to hear today. So we wanted you to understand what it means, but go look it up for yourself as everyone, as our Pastor Archie today starts to break down and as you hear from the rest of the panel. Back to you, Mark Thomas.
Okay, parthenogenesis. Did I say that right?
I think you did.
Okay, I can go home now, I guess. All right. Very briefly, we're just going to summarize last week a little bit. We went into depth on chapter 5, where Dr. Griffo talked at length on all the symbology present in every verse in that chapter. In that chapter, the reader was introduced to the 7 seals and the slain lamb, who appears in verse 6 as the Savior and the one who is worthy of our higher self. That's just a very short summation of what the lamb was. I'm sure we'll be discussing this more today. The panel then talked at length about the energy that originates in the lower chakra and eventually makes its way up the spinal column to energize the higher chakra. So we talked about how we can each maintain this energy as well. There's so much more to last week's show, but now we need to turn to Pastor Archie in the 6th chapter of Revelation. So Archie, last week SRC said that if you understand the symbology of what's being taught in the Bible, then it becomes a much more fascinating and meaningful book. And that's why I'm so interested in hearing what happens next in the book of Revelation in chapter 6. So if you would pick it up from there, and we'll pause every now and then and get input from the audience and from the panels. So go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me good. Yes, I found out some awesome things here in the past week concerning Revelation, concerning this next chapter coming up. So I asked Sonala to see if we could find a definition for that word, parthenogenesis, because last chapter we talked about how, and we're gonna get into a little more about the gonads and about prostate and how we are trying to kill this animal way of thinking. But see, now the thing is, I think a question came up: what would have happened if we had not had sex with the women? That's where I found out about parthenogenesis. That's where the virgin birth came from. But the amazing thing about this, y'all, is that if that occurred, the sex will only be a female. No males were born. Now, you could take that and think about that, because we heard that there was a male born through parthenogenesis. But think about that. Look it up, and that's something, and it's a good idea to look up some of these words, take and research that word and see where it take you to, and you're going to find some very, very astounding things. So we're going to start in chapter 6 now, and it begins to say, and I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder. One of the 4 beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the 2nd seal, I heard the 2nd beast say, "Come and see." Now, I found something out here, y'all, concerning this chapter here. And whenever you hear about, well, let me read you a quick little verse right here. In the Bible, the creative phase is symbolized by the white serpent, and the destructive phase by the black serpent. So whenever we start to talk about the difference in black and white, one is creative, is considered to be creative, the other is considered to be destructive. Now, he said, I saw and behold a white horse. This seal is talking about the Symbolized chakra, the prostate, where the positive and the negative currents of the Kundalini force start. This is, and I think we might have hit on that a little bit last week. It corresponds to Sagittarius, and I don't see my brother this morning, but it corresponds to Sagittarius, the bow man, because it speaks about what it says. He gave him a bow, and I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him. And this is the Symbolized chakra. This talks about the prostatic area, and I seen where there were some experiments that were done And I think I hit on a little bit last week, where when people did not actually complete their orgasm, or they stopped them for stop the orgasm, and it was done in an experiment. I think it was 3 women and 2 men. It caused problems in that prostate area. And a lot of times we hear about prostate cancer and that type of thing. But this is talking about that area. See, keep in mind that this initiate is getting knowledge concerning the body and the areas of the body. And it's amazing that the ancient Egyptians were considered to be heathens, but there was a lot of information taken from them and put in the Bible for them to be heathens. So why would you do that? But this is what was being taught to the initiate, and this is talking about that area of the prostate. And in this sign, the Romans placed Diana, the Greek Litois. And I guess the Litois was meant to be woman. Well, it was Apollo's sister. This is according to the mystery, who was sometimes pictured as a bearded goddess. That's how she was pictured sometimes, which meant the male, female. And you see that it was said once that God created male and female. He created them male and female at the same time. That was the androgynous man. And that might be a word you might want to look at, androgynous. That means male and female together. And then we could go back to that word that's hard to pronounce, parthenogenesis, and you come to understand that way before now. Now, you got to understand this was thousands of years ago that these things were going on, and man and woman was complete in themselves, and you didn't need the fertilization of the male sperm to make a child. That's what all the virgin births will happen there. Now this question. Go ahead, Anala.
Before you move on, I want to go back to something you talked about, and I want to share the screen for a second, because I believe it's important that our audience understand when we're talking about the chakras and all that and what they all mean, and which area you're talking about. So when you're talking about that area, the prostate area, you're talking about the area right here, which is the root chakra.
Reproductive area.
Pardon me?
Yeah, I said reproductive. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So we're talking, and that area is orange, and so this is the lowest part of the chakra. So when you start thinking about, I'm just really understanding the chakras myself. I always thought the chakras started from the top down and counted from, one, like that, but you start from the bottom. So this is the first chakra right here. Is the lowest chakra, is the first chakra. And I was thinking that the first chakra will be at the top, but the first one is really at the bottom. So this is the grounding area. This is, as Pastor Archie mentioned, this is your reproductive system. This is where your vagina and pelvis and legs and all that stuff is the lowest part. And it's the area of grounding and security, survival. Your basic instincts are found in this area right here. This is where your sexuality and your fear come from. So right in here. So this is important for us to know that. And I'm sure that as Pastor Archie goes on, he's going to talk about why it's important that we, this is not so much of a negative area, but what is it used for? Why do we need that? Why do we have this particular area right here as he continues to break down this area, this chakra? Thanks, Pastor Archie.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Nala. Yeah, you could have kept that up there for just a second if you could.
Okay.
Because see, that area is important. I mean, it's very important for us to be able to control that area. We have to get to where we can control that reproductive area, where the testes and all that is at. And you hit on something. You said fear. You could feel fear there also. And I thought about this, Anala, and I know you was a truck driver also. And you ever came to a real high bridge? I mean, I mean, I ain't talking about no little something in the city. I'm talking about I done come across some bridges that were so high and there was just 2 lanes. And I'm saying to myself, Lord, have mercy, how in the world can I cross this? And fear began to set in. And guess where I felt it at? In my growing area. And some people probably can witness to this, that as fear sets in, you begin to feel it down there in that area. And the higher I got up on that bridge, I'm saying, oh my Lord, good Lord Almighty. That is why a lot of times in animals and even in people, when they get real scared, guess what they do to themselves? They urinate on themselves. Because that area is being, you feeling things right from there, and you're I think somebody said that's it, where you decide to either fight or run. You make up your mind there. But this chakra, it does belong to the lowest of the somatic divisions. Yeah, there's the white horse. The white horse. Now here we go with white again. That's supposed to be when we see white and when we're talking about white, it's supposed to be actually positive. It's supposed to be helping to grow. It's supposed to create, but it says it belongs to the lower somatic divisions. Yet as the white horse, the division outranks the others. Now here we go with the ranking. He said outranks the others, and the bowman, Apollo Diana, represents the conqueror, who is here starting out on the conquest of the chakras and who reappears in triumph in the closing scene of the drama. Now, listen to what we're saying here, how you gotta conquer this area. Think about it. If you can't control your sex appetite, and then we'll say, well, I'm a dog, I'm just a dog. No, you're not a dog. You're acting like a dog, but you're not a dog, because a dog is not capable of being intuitive as man is. Man may be acting that way at times, but the initiate had to prove that he was able to control that area in order to be able to begin to move up that narrow path that we were talking about last Sunday. It's a narrow path, but it's an uphill climb all the way. And now you just said you don't know why it started at the top, because it builds. And I think Doc said something about building Solomon's temple last week. It begins to build, and as we are able to control that, you got to and look at church. And I've been in church for a long time. All the women and men in church, there's more women most of the time anyway, but the men in the church have to, the ones in position, elders, deacons, they gotta be at the point where they're not being they have to be able to control their desires. I'll put it that way.
I have a question too, when you finish your thought.
They have to be able to, in order to begin to move up the ladder, the religious ladder in the church, you got to be able to control your desires and your cussing and your drinking and your fussing and all that there. In order for the pastor or the preacher to see you elevating and growing higher, you got to be able to control that area. Go ahead, Anala.
Okay, so yeah, but before I even ask the question, I want to touch on the point that you just talked about. So, and we're not, SRC is not advocating that, you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't do this. We're always advocating managing those things. See, whereas the religion said, don't you do this and don't you do that because you're going to hell. We don't believe that. What we say is you manage all of those things. You must manage those things, not get rid of them, not try to not do them because you are, but manage those things. That's what SRC advocates here. But I want to go back and I want to make sure that our audience is clear on the white horse, because the white horse symbolizes, I think, is it Aquarius or something with the bow or something like that, or Sagittarius. So I want to understand. Yeah. I want to understand, and maybe Dr. Griffo can speak to this about why is that so significant in this particular text as it relates to the Sagittarius, the white horse? Why did they use that here?
Yeah, what you're seeing also deals with the four gates of heaven, the four gates as the sun goes through its course in Cancer, in Aries, in Capricorn, as well as in Libra. So those four different points represent those four zodiac signs. So one you're seeing with scales, that's representing Libra. One you're seeing with the bow and arrow, that's Aries. He's the warrior. So then what you're dealing with the red horse is emotions, the black horse is intellect, the white horse is spirit, and the pale horse is physical. So they had it all divided up into four different places. The same way if you go to Numbers chapter 2, verse 2, you would see how the tribes were divided up into 4 points to cross, and each one had 3 tribes into them, and each of those 4 cardinal points had a ruler. Dan ruled the red horse, or in the north. Reuben was in the south. Judah was in the east, and Ephraim was in the west. So one of the things that you're dealing with is just an astrological aspect of how the sun goes into the 4 seasons. In Aries starts spring, and Cancer starts summer, in Libra starts fall, and in Capricorn starts the winter. So that's one aspect of it.
What is that doing for me as an individual, though? What is that? How does that affect me with the 4 quadrants that you just mentioned? For example, in the spring, would I need to know look at my zodiac sign and see where I am in that quadrant, so I will know how to move?
Well, everything in the Bible always dealt with the East, and the East is where Judah was. The East is also representative of springtime. So in order to get to the springtime of your life, where you're coming up out of the winter, because we always get to spring after winter. So winter is the dead season. It's the cold season. It's the very emotional season. And then we come out of that and we pass over. And this is why Passover is always in the spring, or AKA Easter, because we're coming into a new season as far as spiritually. And the east side is always the most spiritual side. That's why Jesus told the disciples, cast your nets to the east. This is why, again, Judah, which is the most important tribe of which the Messiah descended, was also in the east. And where does Jesus sit? On the right hand of the Father. The right hand of the Father is in the east. So it's dealing with so by understanding when the sun goes into these different zodiac seasons, then it's just trying to show you how you're coming out of different seasons, going through intellectually, mentally, spiritually throughout the year as well.
Doctor, in this about the beast that are in this text, could you explain that a little bit?
The 4 beasts?
Yeah, the 4 beasts.
Yeah, same thing. When you're dealing with the 4 beasts, you're dealing with what they call the fixed signs of the zodiac, which are Aquarius, which is the man, the face of the man. Then you got Leo, which is, of course, the lion. You got the bull, which is Taurus. And then you got the eagle, which is Scorpio. Scorpio is used, but also if you go and look at the zodiac signs or the constellations near Scorpio, you got what they call Aquila, Aquila, and that is the eagle. So then what they showed was, again, this is just one of the courses that the sun goes in, as it, I think a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Groundhog Day and those other 4 holidays that are set upon the fixed, or what we call cross quarter days. So for instance, we're fastly approaching spring. So from spring to summer is 90 days. Halfway between that is the 45-day point. At these 45-day points are where you have your cross quarter or your fixed days of the holiday, fixed days of the year. So it's just showing how the sun goes from Aries to Taurus to Cancer to Leo to Libra to Scorpio to the wintertime, which is Capricorn, and then again into Aquarius. So it's giving you 4 of the 8 points that are always significant in ancient cultures. If you go and look at the Buddhists, they have an 8-pointed star. If you go and look in Sumer, they have an 8-pointed star. If you look at the Dendera temple in Egypt, they have an 8-pointed star. You can even go into the Oval Office in the White House and they have 8 points inside of the Oval Office. So it's showing that the direction that the sun goes through its journey throughout the year. And those 4 points, which created this beast, are just nothing but the cross quarter days or the fixed signs of the zodiac.
Okay.
So Pastor Archie, there is really, so then therefore then there is no beast then, right? There is I mean they're not real beasts, and
It's
these
symbolism.
are symbolisms. That's what I think that is so important, that our people know that these are, everything in Revelation is about symbolism. Now to me, they had here, it talks about the and it's not in there, but it's a book that we're resourcing here. It talks about that the conqueror also corresponds to the human head of the phoenix. What is that all
The
about?
Sphinx. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Sphinx.
Yes.
Well, you understand. You will have to go and get the Mysterious Sphinx by the same Dr. Hilton, and it represents just like Doc was saying. It is talking about, it is the head of the Sphinx, which represent man going above his animalistic ways of thinking. Now, the Sphinx was dug up, and that is where, and this is a whole different subject. That is where God, the term God began, because instead of them really letting the mass know that it was talking about the earth, the air, the sun, and water. Those, again, it goes back to what Doc was just saying. Those fixated signs. That it goes back to talking about that refers to those fixated signs. But see, instead of the church fathers letting it be known that that's what they found at the Sphinx, they called it God. Because think about it, nothing can grow without earth, without the sun, without air, and without water. That's what makes things grow, and that's what they call God. God makes things grow. But then when you look at that, they're saying they're really speaking of the earth, the sun, the air, and the water. And am I on the right track there, Dr. Griff? Is that right?
Absolutely on point. And even to take it just a step further, if you look at DNA, it has the same 4 components, with the 5th being phosphorus, or the ether, or the God concept. So the 5th element. So you do have, you made up of carbon, which is earth, oxygen, which is air, hydrogen, which is water, and nitrogen, which is fire. Those are the 4 elements of DNA. So absolutely, it goes right to the earth.
This is amazing. So everybody needs to hear this. So, just to make sure that what you just said, we are made up of the things, our human body is made up of the things that people personified as God.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Every bit from the ground to the sky. See, people, but you have to really look beyond what was given to you, because what was given to you was forced upon people. Do you know it took 70 million deaths to push Christianity? And I'm not going against what people believe. I got a lot of Christian friends, and I understand something. but what was given to us, you think it was something that came from God, but it actually came from man. But you got to research it. You got to research it. Go back and look at the Sphinx. The Sphinx it gave a lot of information, but you really not going to get that information unless you search it. You got to search it. So I'll tell you, we're at we're at verse 3, but it's real interesting here because see, it did say that man was rising above his animalistic nature and reaching the throne, gaining the resurrection. The head was where we were talking about getting to up here, where we began to talk about the pineal. He was getting to the point where he was above. There it is up there, the crown up there. He was getting to the point where he could overcome those desires down there. And I think I'm telling y'all, now I'm a pastor. I'm a preacher. I preached a long time and helped a lot of people out. I'm telling you, it is awesome to be able to, you know, and well, we're going to get through this, but listen to what, when I was introduced to religion, you know, they told me the order to be saved, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. Every summer, I had to get saved again. That's what I told I was saying. I got to get saved every summer. Because as soon as I start to seeing them short dresses and them mini skirts, them tight pants, and there I go, you know, because as a young boy, I was taught to get all you can and can all you get, as far as women was concerned. But that's what I was taught. And I had a hard time in the holiness church trying to keep myself together according to what I was told through them. And I know they meant well. I know they meant well because I did the same thing. But to find this knowledge out about that you got to conquer these things and cause you fall. And we tell people that you fall, get back up, get back. We got to explain these things to people, what they really mean. Because within you, those desires burn and burn. And you see here, when you get to this level where you get where the pineal is at, now you don't have that desire to marry. You don't want to give into sex because you have an understanding of that's a two-edged sword. It's destructive, it's creative, and it's destructive. It creates and it destroys. See, it creates, and a two-edged sword cuts going both ways. It creates and it destroys. That's why I wanted people to really go back and look at that word that Nala showed when we first started parthenogenesis. Because see, at first we didn't create and destroy, we created. And we continue, and because people will always say, well, how would the earth be replenished? No, it was already handled. It was already handled. So men started looking at women and desiring them. And then they started having sex with women. That's when they touched that fruit that they should not have eaten of. When they ate that fruit, it wasn't an apple. It was not an apple, baby. It wasn't an apple. So wait,
I gotta ask a quick. You can't go past this one. wait. So wait. Are you saying that we should never have had sex, and if we had just never done that, then we would have still been able to create other humans?
I'm saying exactly that it was already set up for the earth to be replenished. A woman had babies without men, the virgin birth. But again, it takes a little more endeavor into it, because again, you got to understand that the parthenogenesis, according to scientists and according to what I've found, is that when that did happen, it was only women that were born.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, please. Yes, too. Yeah, please.
I agree. If you look at the sex chromosomes of women, it's two X's. And when you look at the ones of a man, it's X and what looks like XY, but what it is a deformed X. Just like men have all of the components that women have, but ours don't work. For instance, we're giving nipples, but we can't breastfeed. We had ovaries and they just fell down and became testes. We had a clitoris, which just became enlarged and became a penis. So then men are really lesser women in all actuality, just given the more of a testosterone, more of a hormone called testosterone, as opposed to estrogen based. But yes, parthenogenesis was definitely found in the animal kingdom, and allegedly there are studies that women back in the day used to give birth without the aid of a man. And this is where you get this whole concept of Mary being impregnated without the aid of a man. And this story also goes back in ancient Egypt, where Isis or Set got pregnant by her dead husband, Osiris or Asar, you know, and she gave birth to the god king Haru or Horus. So parthenogenesis goes back way into our cultures, and it definitely bears witness to it. And even if you look at the Bible, you can see, starting with Genesis chapter 2, I think verse 5, where it says that there was no man to fertilize the earth, and at that time it hadn't rained on the earth yet, right? Now, if you go and look at the ancient Zimbabwe culture, they looked at Mother Earth as the mother and the sky as the father. And whatever they needed it to rain, the women would dress real provocatively and dance real provocatively to make the sky god rain down, AKA shoot semen down onto the earth and fertilize the earth. So when you go back and look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 5 from that aspect, you're seeing that there was women here already here, and they had to create a man to be able to fertilize them, to be able to reproduce in this new form of reproductive ways.
Why do we need to do that? Why, you know, why did things change then? Why did we need to produce the man? I mean, what changed to make us have to do that? If Pastor Archer, you're saying that we could give birth without the male. So what changed?
Well, as I said, men began the lust
Oh, okay.
set in. You know, it speaks of the angels having sex with women. The angelic way of speaking is above the animalistic way, but they fell from that way of thinking and began to lust after women in their heart. So, you know, then they started, you know, it started, and it caused a issue. The day that they started that, they began to die. They began to die, because as long as they lived the way that they should have, according to the Bible, not touching or not eating of that fruit, which it was engaged in sex, they lived. Once they started passing that semen off, now they'll begin to die.
So what they started when the Bible talks about, and I've read that in Genesis about in the day that they did that, they started to die. So that is the day that they started to release that semen, is when they started to die.
Yeah.
Whoa. All right,
Yeah.
you guys need to tell all the men and women to hold their semen forever.
We're not gonna do it. It's lust.
We still have
Lust
to
is
reproduce.
powerful.
We still have to reproduce the human race, so that there's a designated time for it. Just like in the animal kingdom, they have mating seasons. You know, they didn't just were all willy-nilly just using most of the animal kingdom anyway was not using sex for pleasurable purposes. It was for reproductive purposes. And I think that's what it is humans have lost their way insofar as it's more of a pleasure principle as opposed to a reproductive principle.
And that's where we
right.
come back to talking about managing it, not just having sex just to be having, but to manage that. And that's where we are right now. So yeah, I got you.
See, now we are civilized. The more civilized we get, the far away we get from being able to reach that level of higher consciousness, when people think that, you know, you're doing better, you're progressing, you're not progressing. You're getting away from what the ancient masters taught.
That's right.
So you're not progressing. We think that we're progressing because, oh, we're civilized, baby. Put your fork here and your knife there, and you do this and you do that. You know, we have caused ourselves to begin to degenerate. We call ourselves to get away from what the ancient masters taught. And the church fathers did not want that to happen. The church fathers did not want it to be where you knew who you are and what it took for you to go forward and to live on a higher consciousness and think properly and be able to see things like Apollonius. He seen things. He was pure. His mind he was a master of what we're talking about here. He was a master of what the ancients taught, but that was taken away and destroyed. But I guarantee you, in the Vatican, they have secrets that they'll never show the mass. Guarantee you that. Guarantee you. So we're really caught up here with it before we can get to this third verse. But you see there, it talks about, in the resurrection. See, in order to be resurrected, something has to die. And see, we started this process now in order to get to where we really need to get to. I know a lot of people that say, oh, I want to go to heaven, but none of them really wants to die. They don't want to die. They really don't want to die. But
you're not talking about a physical death. You're talking about a death to self, right?
Well, it's physical and it's the spiritual sense. You got to understand that either way, if you're depleting yourself of that golden liquid that you need to actually help you reach that higher way of thinking, you are dying in a sense. You're dying, yes, spiritually and naturally, and naturally. I can't think of the word that is being depleted there, the part, but we'll get back to it. It deals with the gonads, and I wanted to, I can't remember what it was, but I come back to it. I eventually get to it, but you got to understand, yes, we are really depleting ourselves of that life essence that moves us above this animal way of thinking, but we gotta, like you say, we got to manage. See, now you have to manage it because you are civilized. You're so civilized. You go out to some of these jungles where the people, they could fast for days and days at a time. They don't eat, and snakes can bite them, and it never bothers them. These people are thinking on levels way beyond what we think, but we say they're uncivilized.
Let me ask you a question, Pastor Archer. Now, in verse 3, it says, "Open the second seal." We already understand that the seals are the chakras. So, in the second seal, what are they talking about here in that second seal? Which chakra is that? And I'm gonna try to share the screen so that people can see when you talk about that chakra.
Now, according to what I have here, it says the Manipura chakra. Manipura. I don't know if that shows on your screen.
So that's the abdominal area. The second one. So it's of course it's yellow, I guess, or orange.
So it said another horse, fiery red, came out. To the divinity who was riding him, authority was given to take away peace from the earth, that men should slaughter one another, and to him was given a great sword, that abdominal area. Think about that. Isn't there something about there's a second brain there, Doc, in the abdominal area? Right. There's a second brain. I'm getting ready to say something, and I'm sure everybody can relate to this here. that gut feeling, I got that, the gut feeling. I feel it in my gut. I feel it. I know that this got to be right. I know something ain't right. You feel it down there. So you're not only you're thinking from up there in that brain. There's a second one that gives you, and you see there's self-control. It gives you. You can leave it up for a minute there, Nala, for they can see that what it actually guides there is in that area. Because now it said when that second seal was open, a fiery red horse came out. Now we're talking about the fiery red horse. You're talking about self-control, purpose, strive for perfection, desire. Now you're dealing with things that most people they relate to, because this is where you try to get ahead. You get that feeling that I gotta go forward, or I can go forward, or I feel it down here. I feel you walk in the room and here you go, man. I can feel something not right. I got a gut feeling that this meeting is not going to go right. Down there, it says that horse came out, and he was given he was riding upon authority, was given authority to take away the peace from the earth. Now we're thinking about what is he taking? As we read it in the church, we look at the earth. We're thinking that, okay, he's getting ready to kill everything up on the earth. Or this where you start to, people are so scared of Revelation, they believe so much things literally about what was put in Revelations. Now they're thinking, oh man, we're getting ready to die, or they're getting ready to kill us. And it presents itself as killing everything on the earth. But think about this area, the abdominal area. This is where things are generated at. So you got the red fiery horse comes out to conquer in that area. Think about how you feel in that area, how things begin to show themselves, or how, just like I said, how you get that feeling down there. The red horse, and then again, it says in my reference here that it represents the abdominal brain. The abdominal brain. Again, there's another brain there. We talking about a second brain now. And as we moved up, from the prostate, moving on up. Now we're talking about, it seems as where everything is mixed. The mixer, the stomach is there, and how everything is there, and how things come down in there, and we are the initiative, the guy, the initiate. Now he's thinking about, okay, how to conquer these things through this area here. Now he's moving on up in a different area, which he has to understand this area also.
Which verse are you on, Pastor Archie?
That's still we're still on the third verse.
Okay.
See, the third verse and was a short one, but it was actually the third and the fourth verse. Actually, the third and the fourth verse, and I didn't read it out. It was the King James. It said, when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat upon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. That went to the fourth verse. So again, the red horse represents the abdominal brain, and its rider, who is passion personified, appears later in the drama in the role of the red dragon. So there was a red horse, a red dragon also, which we're going to come upon here, I think in the 12th chapter as we get there.
So let me ask a question about this verse so I'm make sure that I'm clear. So in the fourth verse, really, and based on what you and Dr. Griffo talked about, people were not really killing each other except when they were releasing when they were releasing the fluids. That's what was killing each other. So when it said that in the fourth verse where it says they took the piece from the earth is us. The earth are the humans, and that they should kill one another. And so every time they were releasing the semen, it was killing each other. That's what it's talking about. So it wasn't, and I know in churches, in religion, we were taught that people, had swords and they were killing each other and dying and all that. But what it's talking about really is the fact that now, okay, y'all, you're gonna go to this lower area. So now, and you're gonna be releasing all this semen. You're not controlling it. So now I let you do that, and now you are able to do that, and you are killing each other, pretty much.
Yeah. You're actually killing, as I said, we're killing ourselves because we have become more civilized, and how are you convinced to do something nowadays? If I want people to think, how is it that you are really convinced to do something? The first thing that the commercial shows is what? A pretty woman doing it, or a pretty woman liking it. So what does that say?
Too now, they don't just have women now. Well, Pastor Archie, they have guys.
Yeah, I should say both. I don't want to say sexist and nothing like that, but but the point is that they are getting you to use that lust. They're using lust, really, not just for women, for wanting the biggest and baddest car or the biggest and baddest truck. They had to learn how to reach man, and one of the best ways to reach them is through that area, is to get them to think or lust, want more than what you have. And people get into all kinds of debt because they desire a lot, but if they really sit down and think about it, they are not capable of handling that load now. But because that desire is there, but it's just like being tempted. And that's why there's a scripture in the Bible that said there had no temptation taken man, but such as is common to all of us. It's common to all of us. There's no temptation that can take us, but it does. The media learns how to get us through tempting us to do things by our wants, our desires, by using little kids. Look at them, they use little kids. Mommy, let's go to this big amusement park. I want to go there, and this is going to make me happy. And there are ways to get us to go against what it is that we really should be doing. So when that in that area, there's a war there. There is a war going on within us. And I think there was a lady wrote about the war in your mind or something. I can't think of, what was it?
I think you're getting an echo or something, Archie.
Okay. There was I can't think of the lady that wrote that book about the war going on in the mind, but in this area here, as we say, this is another brain here where you deal with a lot of things. This horse comes out and he's given the power to conquer. So when we talked about conquering, that was dealing with the pineal of the head, but now we're talking about conquering in this area here, which is another sort of brain there that helps you decide, and lust comes through there also.
All right. Well, we got just a little time left, Archie. So maybe you can get a couple more verses in here, but we're a little getting on the time.
Okay. Just let me know. I see.
Oh, you only have a few minutes.
Yeah, it's only a few minutes, and we're not going to be. I can read this one right quick. The fifth through the sixth. This covers the fifth through the sixth. Yeah. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third beast saying, "Come." I saw, and behold, a black horse came out. The divinity who was riding him had a balance in his hand. I heard as it were a voice in the midst of the four beasts saying, a ration of wheat for a denarius and 3 rations of barley for a denarius, and do scant justice to the olive oil and the wine. So that's a good point to leave to start on next week.
Yeah, we can leave it there and pick it up next show. So all of us here at SRC want to thank the audience for sitting in on today's presentation. As always, next week SRC is going to take a week off, as I mentioned. And so our next episode in this series will be 2 weeks from today on March 14th. That's at 10 o'clock Eastern, as always, too. So please join us as we continue revealing revelations. We really appreciate everyone's patronage and encourage you to email us your questions or comments at shiftingreligiousconcepts@gmail.com. If anyone is interested in advertising with SRC, please contact us at that same email. And don't forget that this presentation will be available on YouTube within the next few days. Even if you didn't attend today's program, please go to the Shifting Religious Concepts channel and give us a thumbs up and subscribe. This is one of the few ways we get public attention and really helps us to promote the SRC mission. If you're not subscribed to our newsletter, go to shiftingreligiousconcepts.com/registration and join us. That does it for us today. We're going to pick it up in 2 weeks, same chapter 6. So peace, health, wisdom, and love, of course.